I stood in the middle of my living room, the silence pressing against my ears like water. My fingers trembled as I held the glossy business proposal, the words blurring together. Premium senior living investment opportunity, guaranteed returns. Limited partnership offering. The party decorations still hung from the ceiling. Blue and silver balloons, some already deflating, clustered in the corner where just 3 hours ago my son Michael had blown out 35 candles. The cake sat half-eaten on the dining table. Wrapping paper littered the floor, but everyone had gone home now. Everyone except the sick feeling in my gut. I sank into my worn leather armchair, the same one where my wife Sarah used to curl up with her mystery novels. 5 years she'd been gone. 5 years I'd managed this house alone. Kept my head down. Lived on my fire chief pension, like I always had. Nobody knew. Nobody needed to know. 4 months ago, the developers finally made an offer I couldn't refuse. The 20 acres my grandfather left me, out past the old county line, had sat untouched for decades. Scrub brush and memories. Sarah and I used to talk about building our retirement place out there someday. But someday never came for her. $8 million. The number still didn't feel real. The lawyers had transferred it to 3 different accounts, spread it around like they told me to. I'd planned to surprise Michael eventually, maybe help him buy a house, maybe set up something for the grandkids I hoped he'd give me someday. But first, I wanted to see him settle down properly. Wanted to make sure whoever he married loved him for him. My son was a good man, too good, sometimes. He saw the best in everyone, just like his mother. Worked hard at the pharmacy, helped his elderly patients with their medications, always had time to explain things twice, 3 times if needed. He deserved someone who appreciated that goodness. Which brought me back to Vanessa. She'd arrived at the party with her cousin Brian, both of them dressed too nice for a casual backyard birthday. Vanessa wore a cream suit that probably cost more than my monthly pension. Brian had on one of those watches that caught the light every time he gestured, which was often. They'd brought an expensive bottle of whiskey and this proposal folder. Mr. Mitchell, Brian had said, his handshake just a little too firm, his smile just a little too white. Michael's told us so much about you. 30 years as fire chief? That's incredible service. Just did my job, I'd said. Well, you deserve to enjoy your retirement. He'd glanced at Vanessa, some signal passing between them. Actually, that's something we'd love to talk to you about. Vanessa and I are putting together an investment opportunity that's perfect for someone with your background. I should have shut it down right there. But Michael had been standing next to Vanessa, his arm around her waist, looking happier than I'd seen him since his mother died. So I'd smiled and said I'd take a look. The party had continued. Michael opened his gifts. We ate cake. Everyone told old stories about fires I'd fought, people I'd pulled from burning buildings. Normal birthday things. But I kept noticing little moments. The way Vanessa's eyes would drift around my house, like she was cataloging things. How Brian kept steering conversations toward my retirement plans and whether I owned my house outright. Then, near the end, I'd gone inside to grab more ice. The kitchen window was open to catch the breeze, and that's when I heard them. Vanessa and Brian stood just outside, around the corner of the house. Their voices drifted through the screen. Absolutely sure he has it. That was Vanessa. County records don't lie. Brian's voice, smug and certain. Robert Mitchell, sole owner, sold 20 acres to Riverside Development Corporation 4 months ago. Public record shows $8.2 million. My blood went cold. And he hasn't spent any of it? Look at this place. Look at his truck. Guy's living like he's still on a pension. He doesn't know what to do with that kind of money. Perfect. Vanessa's laugh was soft, calculated. Michael's already talking about how his dad needs better financial planning. Once we get the old man to sign over even half for the senior living investment, we split it and disappear. Michael will never know what hit him. Your best work yet, V. 3 months dating the son to get to the father's millions. I'd stood there, frozen, ice tray, forgotten in my hands. The cubes had started melting, water dripping onto my shoes. That was 3 hours ago. Now I sat alone with their proposal, reading it with new eyes. Premium Senior Living Communities, LLC. Brian Cole, Managing Partner. Vanessa Cole, Director of Investor Relations. Pictures of beautiful facilities that probably didn't exist. Projected returns that seemed designed to catch desperate retirees who didn't know better. A signature line waiting for my name and my money. They were going to use my son to rob me. Worse, they were going to break his heart doing it. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. It took me 3 tries to type the number correctly. Davidson Investigations. The voice was professional, female, alert despite the late hour. I need to hire a private investigator, I said. Tonight if possible. 48 hours later, I sat in a coffee shop across from a woman named Rita Davidson. She slid a manila folder across the table between us. "You're not going to like this," she said. I opened it. Inside were surveillance photos, background reports, police records. My coffee went cold as I read. Vanessa Cole, age 29. Real name, Vanessa Coburn. 3 previous addresses in 3 different states. Before that, juvenile records sealed in Florida. Brian Cole was actually Brian Coburn, her cousin, age 32. Disbarred from practicing law in Nevada 2 years ago for falsifying documents. But the worst part was the pattern Rita had uncovered. 2019. Phoenix, Vanessa dated the son of a retired dentist. Convinced the father to invest $400,000 in a medical device startup. Company dissolved 3 months later. Money gone. 2021. Sacramento. Different name, same game. The son of a widow who'd sold her late husband's business. They'd gotten $275,000 before the family caught on. By then, Vanessa and Brian had disappeared. 2023. Portland. Another elderly parent, another fake investment. That family had pressed charges, but Vanessa and Brian had fled before arrest warrants could be served. "They're good," Rita said. "They researched their targets carefully. County records, property transfers, estate sales. Brian has access through his previous legal work. They find people who've recently come into money but aren't flashy about it. People like you. And my son? Collateral damage." Her expression softened. "From what I can tell, they've been planning this since they found out about your land sale." Vanessa targeted Michael deliberately. "The pharmacy where he works is just 2 blocks from the county recorder's office where Brian has a contact. I don't think it's a coincidence." I stared at the photos. Vanessa smiling at Michael. Vanessa with her arm through Brian's at some investor meeting. Vanessa in Phoenix with a different man, probably another victim's son. What do I do? My voice came out rough. "Legally, they haven't committed a crime yet. Just attempted fraud. We need them to actually try to take the money." Rita leaned forward. "But, Mr. Mitchell, you need to tell your son before this goes any further. If I tell Michael now, he won't believe me. He'll think I'm just a paranoid old man who doesn't approve of his girlfriend. Then, we need evidence he can't deny." That's how I found myself wearing a wire 4 days later. Brian had called to set up an investment consultation at a steakhouse downtown. Vanessa suggested Michael come too, so the whole family can discuss this exciting opportunity together. I arrived early. Rita's tech guy had fitted me with a device so small I could barely feel it. "Just get them talking," he'd said. "Get them to admit what they're really doing." Michael showed up right on time, Vanessa beside him. My son looked excited, hopeful. He thought this was about securing my future, making sure his old man was taken care of. The knife in my chest twisted a little deeper. "Dad!" He hugged me, strong and warm. "Isn't this great? Vanessa says this investment could really set you up." "That's what I'm here to learn about," I said carefully. Brian arrived fashionably late, carrying a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my monthly pension. We ordered drinks. He spread documents across the table like he was dealing cards. "Robert, I'm going to be straight with you." Brian's salesman voice was smooth as honey. "You're 64 years old. You've given your life to public service. You deserve better than living on a pension in that old house." "I like my house." Of course. But imagine this." He showed me photos of luxury facilities, premium senior living communities, not nursing homes. These are resort-style residences for active retirees, golf courses, spas, gourmet dining. We're building 3 new locations in Arizona and Nevada. Ground floor investment opportunity. Vanessa put her hand on Michael's arm. "Your father could have his choice of units. Live somewhere beautiful. You'd never have to worry about him again." Michael looked at me hopefully. He really believed this was good for me. That's what hurt most. "Sounds expensive," I said. "The minimum investment is $1 million. Brian said it casually, like everyone had a million lying around. But for someone with your recent windfall, I went very still. My what? Brian blinked. The land sale. Michael mentioned you'd sold some property. I never told Michael about any land sale. I looked at my son. His face had gone confused. You didn't? Michael frowned. Then how did... County records are public, Michael. Vanessa's voice had gone sharp, defensive. Anyone can look them up. Why would you look up my father's property records? We do background checks on all our investors, Brian said smoothly. Standard procedure. We need to verify financial capability. Before I even knew about this investment, I kept my voice level. Before tonight, the table went quiet. I pulled out my phone and set it down, screen up. On it was a photo Rita had sent me. Vanessa and Brian from the Phoenix case, newspaper article about the fraud charges. Want to explain this? I asked. Vanessa's face went white. Brian's jaw clenched. Michael picked up my phone, started reading. I watched the color drain from his face as he scrolled through the evidence. The other victims, the pattern, the arrest warrants. Michael, I can explain, Vanessa started. You looked up my dad's financial records. My son's voice shook. You researched him. That's why you started dating me? To get to his money? Baby, no, that's not. Don't. He stood up, chair scraping loud. Don't call me that. Michael, wait. But my son was already walking away. I stayed seated, looking at Vanessa and Brian. Their masks had cracked. I could see the desperation underneath. You can't prove anything, Brian hissed. We haven't taken any money. Not yet. I stood slowly. But you tried, and that's enough. Enough for what? Vanessa's eyes narrowed. For this. I pulled a small device from my pocket. The wire. Every word recorded. And the FBI agent sitting 3 tables behind you probably heard it too. I didn't look back as I walked away. But I heard chairs scraping, Brian cursing, someone shouting, "Federal agents! Don't move!" Outside, I found Michael sitting on a bench, head in his hands. I sat down beside him. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Traffic moved past. The city hummed around us. My son, my good-hearted boy, was crying quietly. I loved her, he finally said. I was going to propose next month. The words hit me like a punch. I'm sorry. You knew. How long did you know? I heard them talking at your birthday party. Hired a PI the same night. Why didn't you tell me immediately? I thought about how to answer that. Would you have believed me? He was quiet. Then, probably not. I needed you to see it yourself. Needed proof you couldn't deny. I put my hand on his shoulder, and I needed to protect you from getting in deeper. Michael wiped his eyes. She never loved me at all. No, but that's not a reflection on you. That's her being broken inside. We sat there as the sun started to set. Finally, Michael asked, did you really sell Grandpa's land for $8 million? 8.2, actually. Why didn't you tell me? I took a deep breath. Here was the moment. Because I wanted to see who you'd become without knowing about it. Wanted to make sure the woman you chose loved you for you, not for what you might inherit someday. And look how that turned out. Hey. I waited until he met my eyes. You didn't know. You loved someone with your whole heart. That's not a character flaw, son. That's who your mother raised you to be. His face crumpled again. I miss her. Me too. My voice broke. Every damn day. We sat there together. 2 men missing the same woman, betrayed by different people, trying to figure out what came next. The FBI agent, her name was Sarah Chen, coincidentally came out about 20 minutes later. We've arrested them both. With your recording and their previous warrants, they're looking at serious federal time for wire fraud, conspiracy, and interstate criminal activity. What happens now? Michael asked. You'll need to give statements. There will be a trial, probably. But Mr. Mitchell's testimony and the recording should be enough. She looked at me with something like respect. You did good work here. Most people don't catch on until after they've lost everything. After she left, Michael turned to me. What are you going to do with the money? I'd been thinking about that since the moment I signed the sale papers. Since even before that, if I was honest. Since Sarah died and left me with all these plans we'd never complete. Well, I said slowly, Your mother always wanted to fund scholarships for kids interested in fire safety and emergency medicine. She said too many people didn't know basic first aid, didn't know how to prevent fires or respond to emergencies. Michael nodded. His mother had said that many times. She'd been an ER nurse. She'd seen too many preventable tragedies. So I'm thinking I'll set up a foundation. The Sarah Mitchell Fire Safety Education Fund. Scholarships, free training programs. Maybe partner with fire departments to do community outreach. I looked at my son, and I'm putting $2 million in a trust for you. Dad, I don't need... Yes, you do. Not now, maybe. But someday you'll want to buy a house, have kids, send them to college, and I want to know you're taken care of. I bumped his shoulder. Besides, it's set up so you can't access it until you're 40. Gives you 5 years to find someone who loves you for your sparkling personality instead of your inheritance. He laughed, watery but genuine. You think I have a sparkling personality? Your mother did. That's good enough for me. We sat there as the streetlights came on. Finally, Michael said, I can't believe she was using me the whole time. Every kiss, every conversation, every time she said she loved me. I know. How do I trust anyone again? That was the question, wasn't it? The one I'd been asking myself for 5 years, since cancer took Sarah and left me alone with a house full of memories. You start small, I said. You trust the people who've never let you down. Your old man, for instance. I smiled. And then you build from there. Slowly. Carefully. But you don't let this break you, Michael. Because if you do, she wins twice. What do you mean? She took your love. Don't let her take your ability to love. He thought about that. Then, did you ever think about dating again? After Mom? No. The answer came quick and certain. Your mother was it for me. 32 years together and I'd do it all again. But that was my choice, son. Your story's different. You're 35. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Right now it feels pretty empty. I know. But it won't always. I stood up, offered him my hand. Come on. Let's go get some real dinner. Not that overpriced steakhouse garbage. He took my hand. Let me pull him up. Where? That diner your mother loved. The one with the terrible coffee and the amazing pie. Rosie's? Yeah. We'll get 2 slices of cherry pie and argue about whether Mom would have approved of you getting a motorcycle. She definitely wouldn't have. Exactly. So we can argue about it safely. He laughed again, more solid this time. We walked to my truck, the same beat-up Ford I'd been driving for 15 years. Michael paused before getting in. Dad? Yeah? Thank you for protecting me. Even when I wouldn't have thanked you for it. I had to clear my throat before I could answer. That's the job, son. That's always been the job. We drove to Rosie's diner, where the coffee was terrible, and the pie was amazing, and the memories of Sarah were so thick you could almost touch them. We ordered 2 slices of cherry pie and talked about everything except Vanessa, about the foundation I'd create in Sarah's name, about Michael's work at the pharmacy, about the garden I was planning for next spring. Normal things, father and son things, the things that matter when everything else falls apart. 3 months later, I stood at a podium in front of the city council. Behind me was a banner, the Sarah Mitchell Fire Safety Education Fund. Michael sat in the front row. Rita Davidson was there too. Even Agent Chen had come. My wife Sarah believed that knowledge saves lives, I told the room. She believed that if people knew how to respond in emergencies, fewer families would experience the kind of loss we did. This foundation is dedicated to making her belief a reality. The council approved the foundation unanimously. Afterward, people came up to shake my hand, to tell me stories about Sarah from her years at the hospital, to say they wished they'd known about the fund sooner. Michael found me near the end. Mom would be proud, he said. Yeah. I had to blink hard. Yeah, she would. And Dad? I met someone. My heart stuttered. Already? No, not like that. Her name's Jennifer. She's a teacher at the elementary school. We met at the pharmacy when she came in for her allergy medication. She asked me out for coffee. And I said yes, just coffee, just friends for now. He smiled, tentative. But she doesn't know about the money, doesn't know about any of this. She just knows I'm a pharmacist who makes terrible jokes about prescription labels. How'd she react to the jokes? She laughed. Actually laughed. Not polite, laughed. Then she might be a keeper. I squeezed his shoulder. Take it slow, but take it. That's the plan. We walked out together into the spring sunshine. Somewhere in the city, Vanessa and Brian were in federal custody, awaiting trial. Their scam had fallen apart. The money they'd tried to steal was instead going to help people, to save lives, to honor a woman who'd spent her life doing exactly that. I thought about the night of Michael's birthday party. Standing in my living room, holding that business proposal, feeling the weight of $8 million and the knowledge of betrayal pressing down on me. I'd been terrified, angry, alone, but I'd done the right thing. Protected my son, caught the thieves, made something good out of something that could have been devastating. As we reached our trucks, Michael called out, "Hey, Dad." "Yeah?" "The next time you sell land for $8 million, maybe tell me before con artists do?" I laughed, the sound echoing off the buildings. "Deal, though I'm fresh out of land to sell." "Good, because I'm fresh out of emotional energy for FBI stings." We drove home separately, but together. Father and son, scarred but stronger. Sarah would have approved. And sometimes, in the quiet moments, I swore I could hear her laughing, that beautiful sound that had filled our house for 32 years. It was gone now, except in memory. But memory, I'd learned, was its own kind of wealth, the kind that nobody could scam away, the kind worth more than $8 million, the kind worth protecting with everything you had.